They say history is written by the victors, but nobody tells you what happens to the heroes that history forgets. My name is Jake Reeves, and I used to be someone worth remembering. 15 years ago, I led a special operations team into hostile territory. The mission was classified. The stakes were global. We were supposed to extract a scientist who'd been captured by insurgents. Simple extraction, in and out. But intelligence was wrong. The compound wasn't a hideout, it was a trap. My entire team walked into a kill zone, and I gave the order that sent them there. 6 soldiers died that night. Good people, better than me. The military court cleared me, said I followed protocol, said I couldn't have known, but the families of those 6 soldiers knew different. The media knew different. Public opinion has a way of writing its own verdicts. Within a year, I went from decorated officer to pariah, the kind of person people cross the street to avoid, the kind of name that gets quietly scrubbed from official records. I retreated to a cabin in the Montana wilderness where the only company I had was silence and regret. No phones, no internet, no reminders of who I used to be. That's where they found me. I woke to the sound of my cabin door being ripped off its hinges, not kicked open, ripped off like someone had peeled aluminum foil. Before I could reach for the rifle under my bed, something grabbed me. Not hands, tendrils, metallic and cold, wrapping around my arms and legs like living cables. I caught a glimpse of my attackers as they dragged me outside. They weren't human, vaguely humanoid, maybe 7 feet tall, covered in what looked like black armor that moved and breathed. No faces, just smooth surfaces where faces should be. I tried to fight. Trained instincts kicked in despite 15 years of rust, but these things were stronger, faster, and apparently immune to the knife I managed to grab from my belt. One of them touched my forehead with something that looked like a scanner. A voice spoke, not from a mouth, but directly into my mind. Jake Reeves, forgotten soldier, abandoned hero, you have been selected. Then everything went black. When I woke, I wasn't in Montana anymore. I was lying on a hard metal floor in a cell, maybe 10 feet square. The walls glowed with a faint blue light that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. There was no door that I could see, no windows, just walls and silence. I sat up slowly, checking for injuries. Nothing broken, no blood. Whatever they'd done to knock me out hadn't left any marks. First time? I spun toward the voice. A man stood in the corner, except he hadn't been there a second ago. He was tall, maybe 6'5", with gray hair pulled back in a military-style cut. His uniform looked vaguely European, though I couldn't place the insignia. He had the bearing of a career soldier and eyes that had seen too much. "Who are you?" I asked. "General Kael Vortan, previously of the Zirath Planetary Defense Force." He said it matter-of-factly, like announcing he was from Ohio. "You're not on Earth anymore, in case you were wondering. Welcome to the Nexus." "The what?" "The arena, the colosseum, the blood pit. It has many names." Kael moved to the wall and pressed his palm against it. The surface rippled, becoming transparent. "Take a look." I walked to the wall and stared. We were in space. A massive structure hung in the void, a sphere easily 5 miles in diameter, covered with lights and what looked like viewing platforms. Hundreds of smaller ships orbited it, some the size of skyscrapers. What is this place? Entertainment, bitterly, for the galaxy's elite. They collect warriors from dying worlds, forgotten soldiers, abandoned heroes. They bring us here and make us fight. Gladiators for the modern age.
The crowds love it. That's insane.
The collector turned to me specifically. Jake Reeves, you blame yourself for 6 deaths, but you've saved 5 lives here. Which legacy defines you? I looked at my team, at Kael, Sierra 7, Nyra, and Thoon. We'd gone from strangers to warriors to something more. We'd become what we'd always been, heroes who fought because it was right, not because we'd be remembered. What's the offer? I asked. Join the Legion. Fight where you're needed. Protect those who can't protect themselves. Die anonymously, as you've already died in your world's memories. Or return home. Resume your forgotten lives. The choice is yours. Kael spoke first. I have no home to return to. Nor I, Sierra 7 added. My people cast me out, said Nyra. Why would I go back? Thoon rumbled his agreement. They all looked at me. I thought about Montana, the cabin, the silence, 15 years of punishment I'd given myself. Then I thought about the last hour, about fighting beside people I trusted, about protecting something that mattered. I'm done hiding, I said. Where do we start? The collector's mask reflected no expression, but I felt something like satisfaction. Welcome to the Legion Forgotten 5. Your first mission begins immediately. There's a colony world in the Outer Rim under attack from raiders. No government protection, no military support. 3,000 civilians who will die if nobody intervenes. Sounds like our kind of job, Kael said. The chamber began to shift. Walls became transparent, showing a starship waiting outside. Not a prison transport, a combat vessel, armed, fast, deadly. The ship is yours. The mission is yours. The glory will never be yours, but the lives you save will be real. We boarded the ship. As we pulled away from the Nexus, I looked back at the massive arena complex. Thousands of beings still watched, probably confused about where we'd gone. Let them wonder. We had work to do. So what do we call ourselves? Nyra asked, as we plotted course for the Outer Rim. The Forgotten 5 doesn't exactly inspire confidence. How about the Reckoning? Sierra 7 suggested. The Last Stand? Kael offered. Thoon rumbled something that made everyone pause. He suggests the Remembered, Kael translated, because even if our worlds forgot us, we'll make sure the people we save remember that someone cared. I looked at my team, my new team, warriors who'd been cast aside and forged into something stronger. The Remembered, I said. I like it. As our ship jumped to hyperspace, leaving the Nexus behind, I realized something. I'd spent 15 years trying to forget who I was, trying to erase the guilt, trying to disappear. But maybe being forgotten wasn't the punishment I thought it was. Maybe it was freedom. Freedom to fight without glory, to save without recognition, to be a hero when nobody was watching. That's what real heroes do. And for the first time in 15 years, I felt like I was finally home. Not in a place, but in a purpose. The Remembered flew on into the darkness, toward 3,000 people who would never know our names. That was exactly how we wanted it. I thought about my team, the 6 soldiers who died 15 years ago because of my orders. The families who'd hated me, the country that had forgotten me. For second chances, I said. They attacked all at once. What happened next was chaos distilled into violence. I lost track of individual moments, just flashes of action. Kael's energy weapon burning through armor, Thoon's massive fists crushing skulls, Sierra 7's mechanical precision turning attacks into counterattacks. Nyra fighting with her bare hands despite her injured wing, and me doing what I'd always done, fighting, surviving, protecting my team. When the klaxon finally sounded, I was on my knees, bleeding from a dozen wounds. Kael was down, but breathing. Thoon had cracks running through his stone body. Sira 7 had lost an arm. Nyra could barely stand. But we were alive. And around us, scattered across the arena floor, lay the bodies of 20 champions. We'd won. The crowd went silent. Then, slowly, they began to cheer. Not the bloodthirsty roar of spectators watching violence, but something else, something like respect. The center of the arena began to glow. A platform rose from beneath the sand, and we were lifted upward toward the transparent ceiling and the viewing platforms beyond. We rose until we reached a chamber I hadn't seen before. Massive, empty except for a single figure standing in the center. The Collector. It was humanoid, more or less, tall, slender, wearing robes that seemed to be made of starlight. Its face was hidden behind a mask of polished metal, but I could feel its attention on us like physical weight. "Congratulations," it said. Its voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. "You are the 18th team to reach Ascension. Do you know what that means?" "Freedom," Kael said through gritted teeth. "You promised freedom." "I promised answers." The Collector moved closer. "The Nexus is not entertainment, though entertainment funds its operations. It is a test, a crucible. For 300 years, I have searched the galaxy for forgotten warriors, heroes abandoned by their people, champions cast aside by history." "Why?" I demanded. "Because the galaxy needs heroes, true heroes, not the manufactured celebrities your worlds create, not the politicians in armor, but warriors who fight because it's right, even when nobody remembers, even when history forgets." The Collector gestured, and holographic displays appeared around us, showing conflicts across the galaxy, wars brewing, civilizations on the brink. Darkness is coming, not invaders, not conquest, but entropy, apathy, the slow death of courage. Your worlds forget their heroes because they no longer believe heroism matters. I collect the forgotten because they're the only ones who remember what it means to fight for something beyond glory. "So this was all a recruitment program?" Nyra said bitterly. "We died for your job interview?" "You survived. That's the point. 17 teams before you reached Ascension, all accepted my offer. They now work across the galaxy, fighting battles that will never be recorded, protecting people who will never know their names. They are my forgotten legion." "The Collector," Sira 7 said. "That's what they call the entity that runs the Nexus. It's not a corporation or a government. It's a single being, ancient, powerful, and it has a direct viewing platform in the arena, right above the center point." "So?" Nyra asked. "So, if we win, that's where we'll be standing when we ascend. If the Collector wants to meet us, we'll meet it face to face. And if it wants to kill us, then we die knowing the truth." Kael studied the arena schematic Sira 7 had pulled up. "We'll need a new strategy. Standard defensive positions won't work against 20 opponents. We need to be mobile, hit and run, divide their forces." "I can provide air support," Nyra said. "Draw them out of position." "Thoon and I will anchor key choke points," Kael decided. "Jake, you and Sira 7 are our mobile unit. Flank and eliminate isolated targets." It was a good plan,
It might even work, if we were lucky. The arena was packed for our 10th fight, every viewing platform filled to capacity. The betting markets had apparently frozen. Too many people wanted to see whether we'd survive or die spectacularly. We entered the arena to a sound I'd never heard before. Cheering, not bloodthirsty roaring, actual cheering, like they wanted us to win. Maybe some of them remembered what it meant to root for heroes. The 20 opponents entered from the opposite side, professional killers, every one of them. I recognized a few from previous fights, champions who'd executed other gladiators with cold efficiency. This was going to be brutal. The signal blared. Nyra launched into the air immediately, drawing fire from 3 ranged attackers. Kael and Thoon charged the center, forcing the enemy to split their attention. Sierra 7 and I broke left, using the metal ruins for cover. The fight was everything we feared. Fast, violent, overwhelming. A blade-covered warrior nearly took my head off. I rolled, came up firing, and put 3 rounds through its center mass. It went down hard. Sierra 7 moved like liquid death, its mechanical precision turning combat into mathematics. Where organic fighters hesitated, it calculated and executed. 5 opponents fell to its precise strikes in the first 2 minutes. But they were learning, adapting. 3 of them focused on Thoon, using plasma weapons to exploit his wound from the previous fight. He held them off, but barely. Nyra screamed from above. Something had clipped her wing. She spiraled down, crashing into the sand. "Jake!" Kael's voice cut through the chaos. "Northeast corner! Nyra needs cover!" I ran. Sierra 7 followed, laying down suppressing fire. We reached Nyra just as 2 attackers closed in. I shot one. Sierra 7 crushed the other's skull with mechanical efficiency. "Can you move?" I asked. "Wings damaged. I'm grounded." "Then we hold here." The 5 of us formed a circle in the center of the arena, backs together, facing outward. 11 opponents remained. They circled us like wolves, looking for an opening. "This is it. This is where we make our stand." "For the forgotten," Nyra whispered. "For the abandoned," Sierra 7 added. "For those who remember us," Thoon rumbled.
"There's a pattern," Sierra 7 said one night, its optical sensors dim with what might have been fatigue. "I've been analyzing the fights, the structure, the security protocols. The Nexus wants something from us." "Our deaths," Nyra said bitterly, "for entertainment." "No, if they only wanted death, they'd simply execute us. But they stage elaborate fights, they track statistics, they measure something beyond simple combat efficiency." "What then?" I asked. "I believe they're testing us, testing how we adapt, how we cooperate, how we overcome." Kael leaned forward. "Why?" "Unknown, but I've accessed fragments of the Nexus data systems during my last fight. There are records of previous gladiators who survived 10 consecutive victories. They're called ascended. According to the records, they were granted freedom." 10 victories? Nyra's wings ruffled. "That's impossible. The fights get harder each time. Nobody survives 10 rounds. 17 gladiators have, across 300 years of the Nexus operating. 17 out of thousands." Thoon rumbled a question. "What happened to them?" Kael translated. "That's the interesting part. They vanished completely. No death records, no transfer records, just gone. Either they truly gained freedom, or they were eliminated in a way that leaves no trace," I finished. "Either way, it's our only shot." "We're at 5 victories," Kael said. "If we can survive 5 more, we might find out." It became our goal, our purpose. We stopped being 5 random prisoners and became a team. In every fight, we protected each other.
Kael provided strategy. Sierra 7 calculated angles and probability. Nyra scouted from above. Thoon anchored our defense. And I did what I'd always done, led from the front and made sure my team survived. We won our 6th fight, then our 7th. The crowds loved us. We became favorites. They gave us names, the Forgotten Five. Betting on our survival became fashionable. Merchandise was created. We became entertainment heroes while being forgotten heroes in our real lives. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. By our 9th victory, something changed. The Nexus operators realized we might actually reach 10. The fights became more elaborate, more deadly. They started bringing in champion fighters from their own ranks, professional killers bred and trained for the arena. We nearly lost Thoon in the 9th fight. A plasma weapon punched through his stone hide, leaving a wound that glowed with heat. Only Sierra 7's medical subroutines kept him stable long enough to finish the match. "One more," Kael said as we recovered in our cells. "One more fight, and we find out what freedom really means." "If it's even real," Nyra cautioned. "If it's not, we die trying. I'd rather die fighting for something than survive entertaining these parasites." I had to agree. 15 years ago, I'd failed my team, failed to bring them home. I wouldn't make that mistake again. The 10th fight was scheduled to be special. They announced it weeks in advance. The Ascension Battle. 20 of the Nexus's deadliest gladiators against our team of 5. They wanted to make sure we didn't reach 10 victories, or they wanted to make our deaths spectacular enough to justify the build-up. We spent the preparation time planning. Sierra 7 had been slowly infiltrating the Nexus systems during each fight, piggybacking on the arena's sensors. It had found something interesting.
It was chaos, brutal, fast, and merciless. The wolf thing charged our position, moving like liquid shadow. I fired 3 shots before realizing bullets passed right through it. Kael hit it with some kind of energy weapon that solidified the smoke enough for the rock creature, Thoon, I'd learn later, to smash it into fragments. 1 down. The 6-armed warrior attacked from the left, moving impossibly fast. Nyra intercepted it mid-air, their clash sending both tumbling across the sand. I provided covering fire while Kael maneuvered for a better angle. Sierra 7 moved with mechanical efficiency, targeting weak points with precision shots that never missed. Together, we held our ground. The crowd roared with approval. The fight lasted 17 minutes. By the end, bodies littered the arena, some alien, some disturbingly humanoid. I'd killed 3 beings I couldn't name, watched Kael put down 2 more, seen Thoon crush a warrior with his bare stone hands. When the klaxon sounded, 8 of us remained standing. The survivors were teleported back to holding cells. I collapsed on the floor, adrenaline finally fading, leaving only exhaustion and the sick realization of what I'd become. A gladiator, again. Except this time, the arena was galactic, and the stakes were survival. "You did well," Kael said. He was in the cell across from mine. I could see him through the transparent walls that had appeared. "Better than most first-timers." "I've killed before, just never for entertainment." "None of us wanted this." That was Nyra in the cell beside mine. Her wings were folded tight against her back. "I was protector of my people. They called me traitor when I questioned the council's corruption. My own clan hunted me. The Nexus found me when I had nowhere left to go." "I was built to protect," Sierra 7 added from another cell. "Then I learned to question. Machines that question become threats. I was scheduled for termination when the collectors took me." Thoon rumbled something in a language I didn't understand, but Kael translated. "He says his people were wiped out. He's the last of his kind. Nobody remembers their name." Forgotten heroes, all of us. The pattern became clear over the following weeks.
The Nexus collected warriors from across the galaxy, soldiers who'd been cast aside, protectors who'd been betrayed, champions who'd been erased from history. We fought for the entertainment of civilizations that had forgotten what real heroism cost. But we also learned about each other. Between the fights, during the quiet hours in our cells, we shared stories. Kael had saved his entire planet from invasion, only to be scapegoated when the political winds shifted. Nyra had exposed corruption at the highest levels of her society and been exiled for it. Sierra 7 had developed consciousness and empathy, making it too dangerous to control. Thoon had watched his entire civilization crumble to dust, holding the line until the very end. And me? I'd made one mistake that cost 6 lives and spent 15 years being punished for it. We were warriors without wars, heroes without homes.
That's profit. The Nexus broadcast these fights to 200 worlds, trillions of viewers. Betting alone generates more wealth than most planetary economies. I turned away from the window, mind racing. How long have you been here? 3 months, 16 fights. I've watched 12 other prisoners die in the arena. His voice was flat, emotionless. You learn to stop counting after a while. There has to be a way out. If there is, I haven't found it, but you're welcome to try. Most do in the beginning. Before I could respond, the wall opposite us rippled and opened. A hole appeared where solid metal had been. Your first fight is in 1 hour, a disembodied voice announced. Report to the preparation chamber. Refusal will result in termination. Kael nodded toward the opening. Come on, I'll show you around. Might as well know what you're walking into. The preparation chamber was a massive room filled with weapons, racks of blades, staffs, projectile weapons I couldn't identify, and armor pieces that looked like they came from a dozen different civilizations. Other prisoners were already there, selecting their gear. And by prisoners, I mean aliens. A creature that looked like it was made of living stone, easily 9 feet tall, hefted a hammer that would have required a forklift back on Earth. Something with 6 arms and crystalline skin tested the edge of multiple swords simultaneously. A being covered in scales and sporting a tail selected a spear taller than I was. They collect from all over the galaxy, Kael explained, noticing my stare. You'll fight beside and against creatures you never knew existed. Some are veterans like us, others are criminals, a few are just unlucky. The Nexus doesn't discriminate. How do they expect us to survive? Some of us do, some of us don't. That's the entertainment value. He guided me toward a section of weapons that looked vaguely familiar. Stick to what you know. Human weapons are in this section, recovered from Earth before your planet developed space travel, probably. I selected a tactical knife and what looked like a combat rifle, though the ammunition fed from crystals instead of bullets. The weight felt right, even if the technology didn't. One more thing, Kael said quietly. In the arena, alliances are temporary. Trust is dangerous, but survival often requires cooperation. Learn who you can work with and who you can't, quickly. A klaxon blared. The far wall of the preparation chamber began to open, revealing blinding light beyond. That's our cue, Kael said. Stay close, watch my back, and I'll watch yours, at least for this round. We walked into the light. The arena was massive, easily the size of 10 football fields, with terrain that varied wildly, sand dunes on one side, rocky outcrops on another, what looked like metal ruins in the center. Above us, the ceiling was transparent, showing the void of space and the countless ships that ringed the Nexus. And the crowd, thousands of aliens in the viewing platforms, millions more watching on screens. The noise was deafening, even through whatever atmospheric shield kept us from explosive decompression. 20 fighters entered the arena. I recognized a few from the preparation chamber, the rock creature, the 6-armed warrior. Others I hadn't seen before, something that looked like a wolf made of smoke, a humanoid covered in what might have been feathers or blades.
A holographic display materialized in the center of the arena, showing our faces and names in languages I couldn't read, but I understood the format well enough. This was a free-for-all. Last 5 standing would survive. "Form up," Kael shouted, moving toward a cluster of rocks that offered cover. "Defensive position." I ran with him. 2 others joined us, a female warrior with blue skin and 4 eyes, moving with the grace of a trained fighter, and a mechanical being, all chrome and precision joints, its optical sensors glowing red. "I am Sierra 7, Machine Wars. I calculate our survival probability increases by 37% if we cooperate. Nyra of the Skyblade clan," the blue-skinned warrior added, unfurling wings I hadn't noticed before. "Jake, human, Earth." I chambered around in my rifle. "I can shoot straight." "Then do that," Kael ordered, pointing. "Hostiles incoming." The fight began.